Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. Back with another video a day till this channel hits 100K. This is video number 45. I want to talk about what's next for my GMC Sierra. I actually just replaced the OEM fog lights. These are the Diode Dynamic SSC2s with, I forgot the name of the company that makes the bracket. I'll throw their name here. Not sponsored or anything, but they come with a fog beam pattern lens on them, but I thought it wasn't bright enough. It didn't throw the beam wide enough, so I switched them to a combo lens, and this is not necessarily going to be something that I would run on the road because when you come down and look at it head on, it's pretty bright. For me, those fog lights are meant for terrible weather where your lights aren't going to be blinding anybody because it's going to be so hard to see anything. That's kind of what they're intended for. So for the most part, for me, that's like an off-road type thing. But the next step of this build is going to be all about electrical. I'm going to show you guys the switch panel here in a minute, which I am super pumped about. I have just a whole slew of electronics that I want to power through a switch panel because unfortunately with the GMC Sierras, they don't give you, well, first of all, a cigarette lighter, which is not a huge deal. I can see why some people are really upset about it. There's a lot of aftermarket accessories that use still that cigarette lighter type adapter, but I do want to hardwire one in, but I also want it to be switched, which I'll share with you why in a moment here. I'm also going to do the Rigid DSS Pros that I picked up here. These are the side shooters for ditch lights. I had ditch lights on my F-150 that I sold, and I actually used them quite a bit. Now with these, I actually like to wire them up individually because I also like to have them as basically being able to use it as like a singular spotlight. So if you come across something, it's nice to be able to have one and light something up, be able to kind of move it around and not have both if you don't need them on. I just like being able to control these independently of each other. With that, I did go with the side shooter because what I noticed with what I had on my F-150 is I didn't like how it didn't throw enough of a beam off to the side. Another thing to note with these side shooters is if you order them in a pair, they have side shooters here, and then this side is blocked off. And you want that because this side being blocked off, when it's on this side of the truck, you want this side shooter to not shoot this way, reflecting off the hood, which you don't want. So these side shooters fire off to the side. I also am going to install, I had these, I was gonna put these on my F-150, but by the time that truck started having a bunch of problems, these just got thrown up on a shelf. So I still have these Baja Designs, what are these? The S2 Sports. And I'm gonna throw those on the rear. There is a company, which somebody dropped a comment down below, and I thank you for that. They make this hitch mount that I think is really cool, that I can actually mount those lights up on the rear and have those firing off to the backside. So I'm gonna show you guys the switch panel here. None of this is sponsored. I bought all of this stuff. Some of it I'll include a link down to realtruck.com, which I do have affiliates for, but some of the stuff they don't carry, and I like it so much that I just bought it myself because I prefer it, which that is this switch panel here. It is the Switch Pros SP9100. This is a premium switch panel, but when you're installing a switch panel in a super expensive truck, I like to do something that looks really nice and have it just appear as OEM as possible instead of having like those crude, toggle switches sort of situation. I had this in my F-150. We're gonna run it again because I just absolutely loved it. What I love about it is that this becomes the panel in the truck, and it's just very nice clicky buttons, but again, it's all digital. There is no whatever, and you can program these buttons to be momentary, solid, strobe. There's like a bunch of different things you can do with it. And it also has Bluetooth, so if you have external lights on your truck, you can actually control them all from your phone. So if you're out camping and you want to turn on a ditch light or something, you can do that, which is also why I like to rig those up as separate lights. Instead of having both, you can control one or the other. This is the wiring setup. So there's a whole wiring harness, and I'll also make my own wiring harness to go into the cab for a lot of the accessories. But this is a solid state power supply. It mounts up underneath the hood of the truck. It's all waterproof, weather tight. With this being solid state, there is nothing in here that can break. It's just basically, it works. And all of these wires run off of here, and what you'll see, we'll go through this in a separate install video, but this wire harness here, each one of these wires essentially becomes a power lead off of that device, and it's all rigged to those switches. I don't know where I'm gonna put this yet inside the truck. I'm asking for your guys' help, what you think I should do. I've got some crazy ideas here, I'm not sure. But you think to yourself, like, what do you need 8 switches for in your truck? I'll share with you guys now what it is I plan on powering with these. What I learned is when I installed these fogs down here, is they actually have a separate power lead also, so I can rig those up to be switched on the switch panel, but also switched with the OEM switch, and that way I can control them if I'm outside of the truck and want some additional lighting. I can add those on. The ditch lights will be obviously up on the pillars here, so that will be 2 switches. Coming around to the rear of the truck, we will have those 2 reverse lights down there. Those will be just on 1 switch. So now we have 3 switches accounted for. Now inside the truck, which by the way, we'll talk about where we're gonna mount this here in a second. They also have some stickers here, I'll show you guys. But inside the truck, I've got my radar detector, I've got a dash cam, that's 2 more things. Now I like to have these switched because if you end up on a phone call and this thing starts going haywire with the radar detector, it's nice to be able to just reach up, turn it off. Same with the dash cam. There are times that I don't want to be recording. So having these 2 switched, so what do we have? 5 switch locations. And then the 6th will be this radio. This is a Uniden SDS 100. This is you call it a police scanner, but I actually use this most of the time for when I'm doing like commercial drone work. I am a licensed certified drone pilot, and I like to be able to listen to air traffic control. But then when I am on trips, I also like to use this thing for like police scanners and emergency services, things like that. I've just become kind of a dork with that, so I like to have that switched. That's actually sitting right now on a power source here that it's also GPS and all that stuff too. That's maybe a whole nother video for another day. That is going to be the device that's pretty much on the cigarette lighter all the time. I like to kill that because this also is very loud if you're on the phone or something like that. You end up with like this thing, the radar detector's beeping. Sometimes the camera can start making some noises or whatever, but also there's times you're on calls, you don't want to record the audio, whatever. So I can kill these 2 and a radio all within the matter of just 1, 2, 3 buttons on and off, and that really is something I love quite a bit. So that is like all of the devices that I want to power in the truck. Now the question becomes, where do I want to put this bad boy? Because I don't totally know. I am almost crazy enough to maybe want to cut a hole in the headliner of this truck and have this thing installed up here, because I feel like these auxiliary switches, because of Raptors, I feel like auxiliary switches belong up here. The F-150 actually had a really good plastic spot for me to cut that in, which is where I put it on that one, but this plastic doesn't have one. I like to cut it into plastics because plastics, they're cheap and easily reorderable through like the parts distribution, and if you want to remove it before you trade the truck in, you can just swap out the plastic, and I try to find like the cheapest plastic to do it. The headliner, that's permanent. She ain't never coming out. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. Do I go crazy and go up with the headliner? The other install location is down here, which on camera is going to look pretty good, and actually in person I do kind of like that location there. But the problem is that if that's sitting right there, when I'm driving, all I can see is the steering wheel. I can't really see those switches, so there's a little more of like a look around to the switch to see what it is you're hitting. But that is a pretty clean location where plastic-wise I can replace that really easily if I chose to. I could also maybe go with it here. That's going to be a lot tighter, and it's also kind of like a little bit radiused. Maybe I can get it in there. That would be a little bit better of a spot because I can see it a little more. Let's call this spot A, let's call this spot B, and let's call this spot C. Let me know in the comments down below, where should I go with this? Where would you guys like to see me go with it? And yes, that includes me cutting into the headliner. If you guys think I should do it, I'll give it a shot. Just not entirely sure if that's the right place for it. I'm looking around. I don't really see anywhere else that I might want to put it. Anything over on this side is already pretty much all taken up with other buttons. So I don't know. I think I'm sort of crazy enough to want to cut into the headliner. It's a good spot for it. There is a bracket that goes on the back, and I can just drop this plastic down and really kind of wrench that down and have it fit in there really, really well, I think. But if I screw up, I screw up my entire headliner, which that's pretty damn scary. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. A, B, C. See what you guys think. What I like to do with these accessories is I like to have basically 4 of the wire leads going into the truck. So I have 4 internal power sources and then 4 external is kind of how I like to do it. I've got enough wiring to kind of create my own wire harness to run into the truck because this tends to not be long enough to do that, which is easy enough to do. It'll be a whole video. It's a lot to do that. And then here they provide you with all of these stickers, which are also like transparent. So you can change the backlight on this RGB to anything that you would like. Again, Switch Pro's SP9100, not sponsored. Would like it to be, but it's not. These also come with this little cover, or you can get it with this cover. And the nice thing about this is that, line it up right, the cover actually creates a little bit of like a detent here, so you can actually feel, so if it's in a blindly mounted location, you have a little bit a better idea of like what buttons you're hitting, which is really nice as well. So that is the next step for the electrical on this truck. It's kind of a lot. So I think for the first video, I'm just gonna go through the entire install of the Switch Pro's SP9100, and then maybe for a second video, wire up all of those exterior lights and all that stuff, because that's relatively straightforward stuff. It's just, this is the bare getting it all wired in. That's kind of the plan. If anybody has any other like electrical accessories that I'm missing, let me know. What do you think I should put on this truck? Am I missing anything? Again, I want to thank whoever it was that left that comment about that rear light mounting bracket, because that's going to work out perfect. I need to order that, which I'm going to do. And let me know in the comments down below. Is there anything I'm missing? So with that said, thank you guys very much for tuning in. I'm going to start getting into this possibly tomorrow, maybe Friday. I'm not entirely sure. There's some motorcycle stuff I want to go do also. So I'm not sure what the order is on that. So with that said, thank you guys very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. Let me know what you think about all the stuff I have laid out here. Am I making any mistakes? I'll see you guys next time.